speaking of an absolutely incoherent and sort of absurd worldview, moving beyond the World Economic Forum for a moment, the libs are just shameless. On this issue of transgenderism now, in particular, the libs are just freaking shameless. They've been pushing the transing of a lot of people and of the kids specifically. So they say, yeah, we're going to pump you full of cross-sex hormones and chop off your genitals, and that'll be really, really good. And it's actually a human right to get your genitals chopped off by some quack doctor. And the conservatives are the ones who say, no, 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 don't do that. That's bad. That's harmful. That violates the Hippocratic Oath. That is just absolutely evil. You should never mutilate somebody like that. That's really harmful to them. They say, how dare you? How dare you say that? This is a human right to have your genitals lopped off and have you be pumped full of chemicals that give you osteoporosis and sterilize you. That's a human right, and it's good gender-affirming health care. Until now they're making the opposite argument. Because now some people are saying, okay, look, fine, if we have to go along with the transgender madness and we have to let the boys into the girls' room and have the boys compete on the girls' swim team, okay, well, if you're forcing transgenderism on us, then at the very least you have to say that the boys who compete on the girls' swim team, in order to not have a completely unfair advantage, they at least need to go through the transition surgery, right? They at least need to take all those hormones you're telling us that they need, and they at least need to, chop off their genitals, or they at least need to, they can't, if they're going to do it, and again, I'm not saying that they should do it, but if they're going to do it, then they at least have to actually do it, right? And now the libs are coming back and they're saying, no, how dare you? That gender surgery, that's akin to torture. You can't force anyone to have that gender surgery. That gender surgery is horrible because they're lopping off your genitals and pumping you full of chemicals and sterilizing you and giving you osteoporosis and stuff. I said, wait. That was the argument I was just making. And when I was just making that argument against transgenderism broadly, you told me to shut up and I was evil and that I was violating human rights. But now that it's convenient for you, now that we're saying, okay, if you're going to do it, at least you got to go the whole way. Now that it's convenient for you, you're acknowledging that I was right in the first place. This is what the Associated Press has done. AP has said, in scores of countries, including parts of the U.S., transgender people must undergo painful, complex surgeries that often render them sterile before their genders are legally recognized, a practice human rights groups have condemned as torture. Dubbed torture, ID policies leave transgender people sterile. There's a very long article in the Associated Press about how the transgender surgery is so awful, and that's why we shouldn't make transgender people do it. If the transgender surgery is torture, if it is disordered, if it is unhealthy, if it causes undue pain, then all of those things would be true whenever someone has the surgery. It cannot be the case that the surgery is good, wonderful, necessary health care when someone wants it, and evil, torture, painful, scary, disordered, torturous when someone doesn't totally want it. The surgery itself has to be one thing or the other. It cannot simultaneously be contradictory things. That would violate the law of non-contradiction. But this is in some ways the logic of transgenderism, just applied broadly to the very nature of reality. They're saying, no, everything only is whatever I identify it to be, whenever I identify it to be that thing. And when the way I identify it changes, then the reality changes as well. It's a way of saying that there is no such thing as objective reality. Every single thing, not just my own subjective self-perception, but everything out there in the whole world, including the surgery itself, is just whatever I say that it is, which is a kind of solipsism that creates a hell for people. It puts people in their own hell, and it throws society into hell. And it just reminds you, too, these people are completely disingenuous. Okay, we can make logical arguments until we're blue in the face. They don't care. They are immune to logic because they're saying that reality is not reality. Reality is just whatever I want it to be. That the exact same surgery can be necessary medical care and torture, depending on what I say, depending on when it is convenient for my argument, which is why we should not accept any of it. Don't try to find a middle ground. Don't say, well, okay, maybe, listen, people should be able to transgender themselves after the age of 18, but not before the age of 18. Or maybe after the age of 12, but not before the age of 12. Or now it's like the age of 8 or something. No, there's no middle ground. Just say no. No. And it also reminds us that politics that only is about consent is preposterous. Can't just be, well, it's torture or it's affirming good, healthy medical care based on your consent. No, your consent has nothing to do with it. Consent is an important category on its own, but it has nothing to do with the nature of that thing. It's the same argument that when a mother wants a baby, it's a beautiful baby. When a mother doesn't want a baby, it's a stupid clump of cells that doesn't mean anything. No, your desires do not dictate reality. Okay, your desires have a relationship with reality, and your desires should actually be molded by reality. Okay, not the other way around.